Good morning. Buenos dias. Welcome to Overtime. And we have special guests, Willie and Rachel Scott from Better Than Blended. Hey guys, this is the first time you've been in studio.
Yes.
Yes.
So exciting.
Excited, yes.
You guys have seen Overtime before?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So does it feel weird to be on this side to talk to?
It does.
The people.
Yeah. So we've ended the show talking about marriage. We were talking about dealing with backbiting children in blended families. Then we transitioned and talked about our favorite lessons. A lot of the lessons we learned in marriage are through conflict and difficult times, and so that was cool. And I wanted to share this article that I found. It shared the number one thing. Now, you know when you see number one, you got to click on that and be like, oh my God, they figured it out. So it says the number one thing all happily married couples have in common. And then it said, no, it is not healthy communication or quality time together. So Rachel Clements shared on medium.com. She says, I've read a lot about relationships. So she's done a whole lot of research because she's a blogger and she's considering marriage. So all of that gives her a lot of reasons to read a lot about marriage from the love angle, psychology, etc. She said one of the last books she read is called The 7 Principles for Making Marriage Work. And she said the overall idea of a lot of these books on marriage that I found is, and it boils down to, all happily married couples exhibit best friend behavior. Are we surprised yet?
I'm not surprised.
We're not surprised.
You're not surprised? If I would have asked you and not told you, would you have said, oh yeah, that?
I don't think I may have said that, but I also think it depends on from whose perspective. Maybe a guy's perspective may be different than a girl's perspective.
I would say,
right.
For us specifically, I probably would have used the word, which is a characteristic of being best friends, use the word like united, or because we hear so often how people be like, when I think of Willie, I think of Rachel. I think of Rachel, I think of Willie.
Oh,
like,
that's
you guys
cool.
are one. Like, and then we noticed some of the characteristics too, because one of my best friends, he'll tell us that, and then like the other day we responded on a messenger, and we both were in two different messages to the exact same thing.
Oh my gosh, that's cool. So we're gonna unpack that a little bit, and while we talk, you guys share. Make sure to tell us where you're at, what you're doing, and what is your number one thing that if you disagree, tell us. What have you figured out? So they unpack this and quote the author of the book saying, friendship fuels the flames of romance because it offers the best protection against feelings of adversarial feelings toward your spouse. So positive thoughts become overwhelming, disproportionate to negative thoughts. And it says the positivity bias of a friendship makes it easy to look past mistakes and small frustrations. So that's their reason, being best friends. And so it sounds like you guys agree. What's your take on the best friend being number one?
So it's kind of funny because as of late, I've been thinking about this. I've realized that my best friends, like my best girlfriends, have very similar traits to my husband.
Yes.
And so it does make sense. And then my friend just got engaged, and she's like, the longer I'm with my fiance, the more I see you in him. And so I think there are a lot of ways to be like, yeah, you're my best friend because there's all these same things. But of course, like, I'm not going to go play soccer. Like, no one wants me playing soccer with my husband. Like, there's certain things that, like, he can do with his friends and I'll do with my friends.
Yeah.
And we were talking about that just the other day. I was like, I kind of miss, like, being able to sing with my musical theater friends and dance and do goofy stuff. And he's like, you could do that here. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that here.
That's weird.
So I think there's, like, best friends, but I think there's a deeper level that is just like the thing that stuck out in my mind was honesty. Because I think with some best friends you can be honest, and then other times you're like, we're not that deep, you know?
Yeah. Honesty in terms of a safe space to be transparent, is that what you mean? Or just like being not lying?
Sometimes I feel like I have to be honest because it'll just cause conflict if I'm not. And it's not necessarily just honest, like, oh, today was a hard day, but like I'm crying and I don't know why, and like I just need you to be there for me. Like I wouldn't necessarily do that with my best friend.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It sounds, maybe you can resonate with what Deborah's saying. Good morning, Deborah. She says being a best friend makes the relationship really personal, as a marriage should be. And I know a lot of people complain about marriage, especially years into it, that you feel like roommates or like kind of buddies, but not in an impersonal way. Like you're just kind of doing life side by side versus together. Yvonne says, good morning, everyone. Nice to put faces with voices, especially the blended family couple.
Good morning.
She said she forgot your name. Willie and Rachel joining us. Good morning, Yvonne. And Callie, she says, I've learned how to make my husband my best friend, which actually brings a question I was thinking about when I first read the article. I was like, okay, well, if I was listening to Brian Janelle Overtime right now, and I've been married for a while, what if you don't feel like your husband's your best friend? How can you get yourself? You know, you're either best friends or you're not. So is it done? Are you like, well, you just didn't marry your best friend? Or are there steps you can take to change that?
I think there's definitely steps you can take to change that. So I believe with any relationship, there is time and effort that you put into it, is being intentional with certain things, is learning. Because I think what happens in a lot of times with marriage is we're in a marriage, we parent well, we maybe do business well together, we work, we operate a home well together, but then we forget that person was, when I met him, that person was 20, that person was 19 or whatever, and that person may not be the exact same person that they were at 19. They don't like the same things. Rachel would tell me that all the time, because I would bring up stuff and be like, well, before you used to like that. She'd be like, would you stop going back to that? Like, no, I'm a whole different person. I've had 2 kids, I've had this, I've had that. Like, my body has changed. I'm different. I like different things now. I don't like to eat the same stuff I like to eat. And so I have to be willing to date and learn her in those cases. And I was failing at that for a minute. Like,
you were failing.
I wasn't doing it as great as I could have done. But I've started to be more intentional with actually paying attention. And I think date nights it really helped that for us.
But how do you make it where, and maybe you guys can help me and help us kind of figure this out. How do you make it where you're not checking a box? Well, we're doing date night. We're parenting the kids together. We're paying bills together. There's like, it sounds like there's something more to how can we change it to we're not just like partners. We're best friends. Is it that you just tell yourself? Is it the way you talk to? Like, what is it?
You might have to check a box though in the beginning.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, to get things
going.
rolling. Because sometimes what you have to do is you have to form a habit so that it can become a lifestyle. So you want to, because if you just do it and then you don't check a box, then you forget. I know that happened for me.
Yeah.
Like, I would forget. So then there were certain things that I would do, and I would check the box, and eventually it would be natural that I would just naturally do it. And it wasn't necessarily because of a routine. It was something that I would think of. It would be top of mind for me. So,
but I think too, knowing on the other side that a person may want it to feel natural, like a natural desire. I want to be with you. I want to hang out with you. And I think over time, what happens is if you have some set times, okay, between this time and this time is our time. I've seen very successful people do that, where they set aside times that this is our time together, where we don't talk about this. We may have to weave in a few difficult conversations, but just how was your day? What did you do today? What frustrated you today? Those kinds of conversations are the conversations you can pick up the phone and call your friend and have. But instead, now you have your friend with you, and you can have that conversation with them. And I wanted to jump back real quick. I can say that Willie does model a lot of my best friends, but it's helpful because when I talk to them, I get his perspective of maybe something going on that's not necessarily coming from him, so I'm able to hear it differently. So he's always like, you talk, yes. Like, you talk to them,
that's cool.
Because it gives a different perspective on things to help bring us together overall when things get difficult.
And I've learned not to say, I just told you that. Like,
that's
my spirit. I'm just
man, that's good.
That has happened to us so many times. Like, I'll talk to one of my best friends and my husband's like, I said that. And I'm like, but you didn't say it like she said it.
Right.
You know?
Right. That's exactly what she was saying.
Yeah, it's just, that's how she said it. But one thing I was told when we got married was never stop flirting with each other. And again, that's a difference between best friends and best friends who are spouses.
Right.
And I think, like, I know my husband well enough to know what he would like for me to do on a date.
Right.
Like, okay, I know I'm not going to take him to a place where there's, like, tons of people. Like, we'd rather probably go for, like, a hike or do something intentional that is geared towards him. So I just think, like, how you can get to the place of best friends if you consider the person before yourself more often.
Oh, I like that.
Good.
Eva says something I really like. She says you have to find the time to have fun together with your best friend and allow the relationship to evolve. And it's very intentional based on what you said. When we go on dates, we can easily land on talking about the kids, talking about the next project we have. And some of our best times has been, and we got to like stop ourselves over and over. Like, no, stop. And we've been married, like we were married 4 years before we had kids. So a lot of times we got to remember, like, yo, we were like a unit before any of this happened.
We have fun together.
Yeah.
Don't you think having fun is so important?
Yeah.
And I think we forget that, like, oh, we can have fun. Let's play a board game tonight.
Yes.
Let's do something silly.
Yeah.
Sometimes the fun gets sucked up by you have to move the challenges to the side. That could be hard.
It's hard,
to do mentally.
yeah.
Sure.
Because even if you just physically move them to the side, even when you go, you're still like, what about? And you have to be intentional with saying, okay, no, we're not gonna think about that.
Yeah.
Let's just be in the moment.
Let's play for a sec.
It's easy to have fun when you go on a vacation and you're away.
Right.
You're away from reality, but almost having to take that same mindset and bring it into a space that you occupy all the time. How can we have fun in this place in order to build the relationship?
Yeah. And it's challenging each other. Mike says to become best friends in dating and after, an agreement should be made that you should be honest with each other and pour out their hearts to one another without feeling attacked, and do that through love. The agreement needs to be adhered to and then feel so that the person doesn't feel like you're trying to hurt them.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Deborah says, however, best friends are men and women toward each other can be difficult because of the way they think. And sometimes we need our own sex for certain things.
Exactly. Well, it's just like we were saying.
Right.
Sometimes I hear it differently from my girlfriends versus my husband, just because of the way we communicate.
Yeah.
And it might be just because of our emotional level to each other. Like, that's just not fair, and here's what you should do. And I'm like, yeah! Where my husband's like, that's not logical, here's what you should do. And I'm like, I don't hear it. What do you know?
And I love that Rod says a key operative word is effort. All worthy endeavors take effort. And I think, like you said, when life gets busier and you have kids and maybe you have a business together or you're just running the household, it takes effort to keep that going. Because, I mean, we got 6 kids. You know, like, to not talk about the kids, they're all tangled into everything.
Right.
So it is an effort that you got to be mindful of. We got to stop. And I think because naturally it's about management of our lives, it's easy to fall there. You know, if you're not mindful of it, it's easy for the default to be, we're not about us, we're about managing things.
I would say, generally speaking, as men, and I'm just generalizing this out, everybody's not like this, but a lot of times men, we're task oriented. So we gonna see a task, and we kind of, so when it's time to clean up or time to do whatever, it's like boom, boom, okay, I put these boxes in order, and now the boxes are in order, and if they go out of order, I kind of get a little frustrated, or it's hard for me to think outside the box sometimes when I have, okay, this is on my task list, and I have to make sure, okay, I need to put flirting on my task list. I need to put this on my task list.
That's interesting.
It's not that I don't want to do it, because we had that conversation. It was a hard conversation. I was just like, man, I downloaded apps. I did everything. I was like, where'd the flirting go? Like, come on, it's in me somewhere. But I had to be intentional with, like, for me putting it on a task list, and then not allowing her to see me put it on my task list, so she didn't think she was a task.
Oh, wow.
That's a good point. And I do think there was, what was that? The C.S. Lewis book about Mere Christianity. He says something about, like, you kind of just have to fake it sometimes until it starts to become that way, like until it starts to become real. And that has stuck with me for years, but also for so many other things. Like, sometimes I just have to fake that I'm excited about going places, or you know what I mean, and you can get there eventually.
Yeah, I like that. We'll share the link to the article. The conversation continues. Callie, thank you for coming and your comment. You said you have to be comfortable with being honest and open to each other and not worried about being judged. So let us know what can we do in our marriages to be best friends, and what are things that great marriages have in common, and how do you get there? Thank you for joining us. Hasta luego.
All right, that's when I come into the screen. Hi, everyone.
I forgot all about that.
I know.
Hi, Betty and Callie and Mike, Eva.